If you want to make money with your freeze dryer, you need to follow these steps in order to give your freeze drying business the best chance of success. We're going to cover all the specific steps you need to determine what products to freeze dry, how to research the competition, and choosing the right business license that paves the way to a successful business from the beginning. So if you're looking at buying a freeze dryer or you already have one and you want to make a business out of it, subscribe to this channel. You'll be notified of more freeze drying videos, and that's what we're all about on this channel. Now, my name is David. I've been a freeze dry business owner on the side of my full-time job, earning upwards of 50 to even 100K per year, and I've made it to be a sustainable business that works well with my full-time job and my work-life balance with my family. All right, so back to the heart of this video. Now, the reason I'm focusing on this is because there's a lot of things that I did research-wise ahead of starting my freeze drying business back in 2020. Now, this was at the heart of the pandemic. I had bought a freeze dryer, but before that, I had researched what types of competitors were out there, who's selling what type of products seem to be the most popular. And that's why I would encourage you that right now, this freeze drying craze is very popular, it's very trendy, and a lot of people get into it thinking, hey, I'm gonna make a lot of money because I own this freeze dryer. But then they wonder, how do I run the freeze dryer? What type of candy should I run? Should I even do candy? Should I do fruit? Should I do any types of other things? And then also, you're maybe even shocked with the type of restrictions that your county or your state has for running freeze-dried products. So you really do need to do a lot of research, and that's what this video is going to be about. So the first part of market research is you want to identify with your company what type of consumer are you going to be targeting. Are you going to be targeting freeze-dried candy consumers? Because that's very popular and it's also very competitive. Now, as the market gets more saturated with people doing freeze-dried candy, you're going to have to come up with something that's more unique. One of the benefits of starting a business right now is there's a lot of people that have already done different types of candies that you can glean off of and learn from and not make the same mistakes that they had to do, even myself when I first started. And that's why I even started this channel, because I wanted to create videos to give you information and give people that wanted to start a business this information. Now, sweets that you can start moving to is things like sugar-free type candies. You can also look at gluten-free candies, dairy-free type candies. I'm just spitballing here, but look at different things that maybe could differentiate you and tailor to a specific audience, as well as having those standard types of candies. Another category of a consumer that you could start researching is the outdoor enthusiast. Now, because I live in Idaho, I focus on that consumer very much because all of the freeze-dried snacks as well as fruit are very lightweight and easy to travel with when they're backpacking or going river rafting or riding mountain bikes, things like that, and you can do the same thing. Another consumer that you might want to look at is the health-conscious consumer. Someone who's looking at conserving produce, conserving all of the food waste that they typically have, and you can provide them shelf-stable produce that's lightweight and can easily store for years on end, but also is healthy because it still is retaining almost 90% of its nutritional value with freeze drying versus other food preservation methods. All right, let's talk about competitors for 1 second, because it can cause a lot of stress and anxiety for you as you're looking at starting a freeze drying business, because you start looking at people who are at Costco or they're at some large distributors. You even see local people already selling freeze dried candy or freeze dried fruit, whatever they're selling. Don't let that intimidate you. It's actually encouraging, because now you know that freeze dried products in this freeze dried industry is here to stay, and people are buying and people are getting into that space. That's why you want to start a freeze drying business. And in fact, when I talked about the freeze dryer company Harvest Right, there's a lot of other brands out there. They wouldn't be investing in building freeze dryers if they didn't see an opportunity in this freeze drying space. And there's so much more, and I'm going to talk about that in a future video. All right, so diving into the local competitors, a simple research on Google could find Facebook pages, Instagram pages, and even websites that your local competitors are doing. Some people are more mom and pop, and maybe that's you. So you may not even have a website. But if people do have a website, you can find that in your local area. Just type into Google, the name freeze dried candy, and then the actual location, the city, county, or even state that you want to look at, and that'll pull up the search results for those ones. If you want to try to find a little bit more of the smaller type of competitors, go onto Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok and search in the search bar, and you'll be able to find some local pages that are on there. When you're doing market research for your competitors, you're going to want to look at their prices. Now, the reason looking at the prices is important for you is not necessarily to lowball them or go under them, but you want to kind of see what they're setting their prices at, so you can know whether you should set the same price for similar products or maybe they are selling it at a too low of a price and you know what your value is and you're going to build a better product or better quality and provide better service. I don't price my products super low because I strive for quality candy, quality ice cream, quality everything, and so I really want to put my value in my price and make people aware that that's why I'm pricing the product the way it is. And just like I mentioned, when you're doing research on your competitors to find them, build a spreadsheet or some type of document so you can know where they're actually doing that. So maybe note all those local markets, all of those different maybe retail shops locally that you've seen freeze-dried product, and so that way you kind of know the genre of the retail shops, the opportunities where you didn't see a freeze-dried company in an event, and then you can apply for those and know tactfully where you can start selling right off the bat. All right, let's talk about the business license side of things. Now, I talked about this in my ultimate guide to starting a freeze-drying business video, but I wanted to readdress it in this video because it is very indicative of your success in your freeze-drying business. Most people are starting a business as a cottage food operator. That means that you can run the business out of your home, your garage, your shop. Usually the states and counties have that kind of delineation because they want to encourage local products and they like having local people kind of like starting something from scratch, like you have your grandma's cookies recipe and you want to start making that available to more people than just your friends and family. That's why the purpose of the cottage food laws were established. So you can set up a cottage food license. All it is going to Google, you can type in cottage food laws for Idaho, cottage food laws for Montana, things like that. Or better yet, you go to your central district health or your county or your state and ask them what the cottage food law application process would be like. Now, once you have that license, you can run your business out of your home. And that makes it really, really convenient for you and flexible to be able to run your business, because if you have a commercial space like I have right here, I've got to travel and you have to determine whether you want that in commercial versus cottage food. But in cottage food, you don't have to worry about that. So that makes it really nice. And I started in cottage food in my business, but I found a local spot that was convenient for my home and I could quickly come down here, do the food prep at night like I am doing right now, and then I could go right back home and be there with my family, my full-time job, things like that. So as a cottage food operator, it's very flexible, conducive for that, and there's less regulations. You're not regulated by your commercial side of running food safety and things like that. So it is kind of a gray area, but it can be very beneficial because you don't have to go through all those procedures and overview from your district rep, something like that. Another big perk on cottage food is that it's a very low investment because you don't have to pay for a space, leasing it or purchasing it, or you don't have to pay for a rental space like I have right now. Now, there are cons to cottage food. One is you're limited to the menu that you can do. So that's why you need to do your research on what is allowed under cottage food law for the area that you're in. So for example, in the state of Idaho, when I started my business in 2020, all the way up until late 2021, I was able to do ice cream under cottage food. That was really unheard of, by the way. A lot of states don't have that flexibility. So I really benefited from that. But they recently changed that law, so now I have to have a commercial kitchen in order to do ice cream. So that's why you want to check to see what menus you can do. And the reason they regulate that is because of food safety concerns. So if you're running it out of your house, you can do certain products, but anything that is temperature controlled, meaning TCS, you have to have in a commercial kitchen typically, and that would include things like dairy products for cold and things also that you have to warm up or maintain a hot temperature before you freeze dry. Another con for cottage food is some states actually cap the amount of money you can make under cottage food, which is, I think, is just crazy. The state of Texas actually caps it at $50,000 as of this video. Now, the last con is that competition can be pretty fierce, especially right now, because a lot of people don't want to invest or have the money to invest in leasing, renting, or even buying a commercial kitchen space. So if you're in cottage food, you're going to have to deal with a lot more competition at those local events, retail, and also direct-to-consumer opportunities that you have. Now let's talk about the commercial side. Now the pros of this is the menu options go up substantially for you to operate. If you want to do different types of meals, if you want to try different types of products that include TCS type items, temperature controlled substances, then you can try yogurt, you can try ice cream, you can try all different types of things. Now, one thing I found is that vegetables actually is regulated by the FDA. So Vegetables I wouldn't venture into because it's very regulated, because there's a lot of more room for vegetables to be exposed and develop types of bacteria and diseases from exposure to not only moisture that you would have to test pretty regularly, but also the sunlight, things like that. So they're very regulated on that, and you'd have to do the FDA for vegetables. But everything else, I think, would really be opening up the doors for you to develop a niche and not have to go through what everybody else is doing. In past videos, I've thrown out the word niche. And what a niche means is it's a specific market opportunity that you have. So even though freeze drying is the industry, freeze drying flowers is a niche. Freeze drying tulip flowers is an even smaller niche. Freeze drying fruit is a large niche, but freeze drying only organic fruit is a very specific niche. When you do commercial, now you can open up your expanded menu to very isolate and target specific customers, bringing that back to that market research so that you know that you're very different than everybody else, but you could also layer in some of the stuff that's selling really well. Another pro is that the sales channels open up substantially, because now you can do wholesale. Most of the time under a commercial space, you're going to be limited to more state retail wholesale. But man, if you live in states with high population, unlike Idaho, man, you really have a lot of options to sell wholesale under the commercial license. Industrial or being regulated by the FDA would then open up the doors to sell interstate commerce outside of your state. I've checked with my Central District Health Rep. They have said that I could sell between 10 to 15% of my total overall sales interstate, still being regulated under the local entity. So you can just talk to your Central District Health Rep. Every state is different, so make sure you talk to them about that, but ask them if you can have a certain percentage before they actually tell the FDA to come regulate you. The third pro to being in a commercial space rather than cottage food is credibility and trust with the consumer, as well as wholesale customers. A large majority of consumers nowadays are very aware of companies who are selling products and taking the safety measures within their food handling. So having a commercial space and going through the food safety standards and saying that you are commercially licensed under your Central District Health or your state is very powerful for you to add to your branding and your marketing, to say that you can trust the types of products that I'm putting out there to you as a consumer, but also for the wholesaler to say, I'm distributing this to you, but you can sell confidently to your consumers. So that's a big, huge plus. You probably guessed what I'm going to say on the con side for commercial, and that is the investment that it takes to be in a commercial space. Sometimes it's going to cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars each month to run a commercial operation. So you got to have the sales and the capital to be able to have the cash flow to be able to run your business and also generate enough sales to where it pays for the space. Leasing a space is going to be expensive. Buying a space is going to be expensive, but renting might be more affordable. And I have some suggestions and recommendations on where you can find rentable commercial kitchens in a video that I did on the 10 steps to being a successful business, and that's included in the video description. I talk about churches, schools, restaurants, bars, things like that, where you can rent the space, and it can be an affordable option. So check out that video. If you need ideas on what to start selling with your freeze drying business and finding the right niche that's unique to everybody else, then check out my next video on discovering your niche for your freeze drying business right now.